whether it's Cody Bellinger at $28 to $30 million or Kyle Tucker at around $37 to $42 million. That's going to be a player who's going to eat up a huge chunk of any budget. So I think the Yankees are going to have to get over $300 million in order to build the roster they want to build. And if they do so, it will push them over the 4 threshold.
2025 was fun. It was good. I love this team. But Brian Cashman did some things to really make you wonder, was he always trying to open up the window for 2026? So I think Cash did a really good job last year constructing the roster, because the vaunted plan B is always like a scary thing to go through. But I thought the offensive team was very, very good, all things considered. Now this year, I have an opinion of what they should do, and I think they have a unique chance to do it because of some flexibility, and I do want to unpack how, but it's important because I think there is a clear and correct answer on what to do with this kind of cap space considering the guys that are on the market. But what happened to get here to set up what could be a potential huge offseason for Cashman, Hal, and the Yankees?
Juan Soto to the Mets. It's real. $765 million.
That happening in that moment felt about as painful as losing the World Series. This forced Brian Cashman to absolutely get in his bag. Like, he had to, or this Yankees team was going to get absolutely left behind. And you can't afford that during the prime of Aaron Judge. So that moment started the haunted Plan B.
Major League Baseball news, the New York Yankees lost a slugger but sign an ace, Max Fried, an 8-year, $218 million deal.
And then, because obviously, like, that's not enough.
We've got breaking news out of Major League Baseball where Paul Goldschmidt has agreed to a 1-year, $12.5 million deal with the Yankees.
And there had to be more, because obviously this is Paul Goldschmidt past his prime, and you're trying to replace Juan Soto.
We got some breaking news in baseball. Jeff Passan reporting that the Cubs traded former MVP Cody Bellinger to the Yankees for reliever Cody Poteet.
And also one of these.
Lauren Shahadi with you in Studio K with this breaking news on a Friday. Devin Williams has been traded to the New York Yankees. New York acquiring the right-hander from the Brewers.
Those moves in particular may have started the 2-year plan that maybe was an accident. Because maybe Brian Cashman, actually I know for a fact that Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone, and them thought that they could compete for a World Series with that roster. But around the trade deadline, they went and got a bunch of pieces that were 2-year guys, not 1-year guys. One of the big points of emphasis was to go after guys with years of control. And why do you do that? Well, and more likely you do that because Garrett Cole gets hurt. And so with Garrett Cole hurt, you want to maximize your 2-year window and not your 1-year window. So you go get McMahon, you go get Duvall, you go get Bednar. You go fill holes and also clean up mistakes for 2 years, not for 1. And that is where the cap space comes into play. But essentially, Brian Cashman spent that time filling holes so that come free agency, you could hone in on one guy, one target, and feel like you're not sacrificing your team because of it. A year ago, if they would have signed Juan Soto, it would have been incredible, and I think the team would have been better off with it. But they would have had a flawed team because there were so many holes that they wouldn't filled when they didn't get Juan Soto. And now they're set up in a spot that where all those other holes are filled, first base filled, third base filled, bullpen in a really good place, and the farm's really good, and I'm sure Ryan and I will talk about that a little bit later on. And it set things up because you were able to develop guys, you had to ask guys to develop, and now you can zero in on one guy, and one guy in particular, and go big fish hunting and not feel bad about it. Now I know, Hal's cheap, Cashman's restricted, there's not going to be a money this I knew we're talking about, and I think this year that's less of a problem than it ever has been. And to confirm it, I asked Ryan to give me a little money breakdown before I get my hopes up in regards to Kyle Tucker.
I think in a perfect world for Hal Steinbrenner, the Yankees build a World Series caliber team, and they do it while staying under $300 million, but I'm not sure how reasonable that is given the holes on their roster. They don't have a lot of holes like last year, but they have a big hole in the outfield that will more than likely be replaced by a semi-expensive player. Whether it's Cody Bellinger at $28 to $30 million or Kyle Tucker at around $37 to $42 million, that's going to be a player who's going to eat up a huge chunk of any budget. So I think the Yankees are going to have to get over $300 million in order to build the roster they want to build. And if they do so, it will push them over the 4th threshold. But I will say this. I think the Yankees are going to have a lower payroll than the 2025 season, which was at around $316 million. I would expect the payroll between $305 to $310 million if they're aggressive. If not, maybe they can find a way to push it under. But I think Cashman will have between $55 to $60 million to work with during this winter.
So with 50 to 60 million and less holes than you had a year ago, plus you've got guys like Garrett Cole coming back, I'm of the belief that I think there's enough arms around for there to be less of a pressure to pay big money for a bullpen guy. I'm also not a big believer in paying money for a bullpen guy, at least huge amounts, given how much variance there is year over year. Now, Devin Williams becomes the other question. Is he worth it to pay that kind of money to, given the season we just had? Or do you believe in the stuff enough to maybe be okay with Cody Bellinger and Devin Williams pairing? Or would you rather have Kyle Tucker, even if it meant sacrificing having Devin Williams for the foreseeable future?
Devin Williams is the classic case of process versus results. From a results standpoint, Devin Williams' 4.79 ERA made him a net negative for the New York Yankees in the 2025 regular season, but the process and underlying numbers suggested he should have been better, and we saw him heat up at the right time for the Yankees down the stretch and in the postseason. Williams showed to me that he's more than capable of pitching under the bright lights of New York, and that the first few months of his tenure here should be used as an anomaly, not the standard for what he's going to become. The issue that's going to work against the Yankees in trying to bring back Williams, who finished top 20 in both strikeout rate and FIP, is that Devin Williams is either A, going to want to rebuild his market, or B, just cash in and trust that teams can know that he's going to be a good reliever moving forward. In scenario A, he's going to want to be a closer. If you want to rebuild your market, getting your saves up, being a ninth inning guy again, those are the things that are going to help your market. And the Yankees can't necessarily provide a closer job for Williams, barring an injury to David Bednar or a terrible season from him, who is also in a walk year and is going to want to close no matter what. For Devin Williams, if you get a long-term deal, like a 4 or 5 year contract, valued around $18 to $20 million a year, that might preclude the Yankees from making other moves like signing Kyle Tucker, signing Cody Bellinger, adding more bullpen depth, maybe bolstering the rotation, adding to their bench. The Yankees have traditionally not been a team that wants to sign big money free agent relievers. And so while I do think the Yankees should have some interest in retaining him, I ultimately think that Devin Williams might have his eyes elsewhere based on the Yankees' needs, their roster holes, and their roster situation, having a closer already existing on the roster.
Now, I'm of the belief that letting Devin Williams walk may sting, maybe in the short term. I think long term, there's enough pieces and a pitching surplus to cover up any hole, leading 2026 to be the year where you have Kyle Tucker, who's in his prime, Aaron Judge, also in his prime, Giancarlo Stanton, still very dangerous, paired with guys like Ben Rice, Jazz Chisholm, and then there's one more part of this. There's one guy who kind of closed the season of 2025 like the scene after the credits in an Avengers movie.
That has defined that word this year as the whole team getting ball and a pinch hit double for Jason Dominguez to open the 9.
It could be the precursor to something really cool, and that doesn't even account for the other guy we haven't talked about at all.
If you're the Yankees, is Spencer Jones, is this time to sell because he's on the greatest heater that we will see this year by any prospect?
Lifts that one out to center field. Well struck. Keeps flying. Gone again. Spencer Jones, second home run. Jack, did that clear the camera well in center field?
So I think he's a little bit untapped.
Yeah, he's a unicorn.